What is up, YouTube? Welcome to another build order guide. This one is for the Malians. Some of you may have already got your hands on them and played them in the pup that was released a few weeks ago. I personally have been having heaps of fun with this civ. Honestly, going to be one of my main civs moving forward. So I've gone ahead and made a couple of guides. I'll be releasing those over the next week. So keep your eyes peeled for that. In this particular build, we are going to be looking at the Mali cowboom. So this is a more greedy style approach of playing the game. I will break down two different versions of it. One is full greed and the other one is slightly greedy, but also making a bunch of units in between, so you don't die from any early pressure. I have a written version of this build order in my Discord, so if you want access to that, click the link in the description of this video and you can get your hands on that. Alright, I'm going to quit my yapping. We're going to get straight into the build order, guys. Let's go. Alright, so this is the full greed version. So we're going to be going for 2 TCs and cowboom off the back of that as well. So first thing you want to do is you want to be sending 5 of your vills to the first straggler and 1 out to build the pit mine. The pit mine is basically the Malians' way of generating passive gold. It works similarly to how the Mongols generate stone from their ovu. This bonus is increased by the houses you build around it as well. So that's what we're going to be doing with this wood at the start. So starting vills to wood and pit mine, and then all your new vills are going to come out to food straight away. And your scout obviously going around and collecting some sheep. Once you find an extra 3 sheep, bring them back home and then you can go and scout more aggressively. That's pretty much the amount of sheep I believe you're going to need to fund yourself to go up to the next age and then for the first few villages. So don't lose your scout when you're going out to get more sheep. So once you've finished the straggler here, you want to bring all of these vills onto food. So this straggler is 100% depleted. So that's the goal. So one trick with this as well is once you've tasked them to one straggler tree, shift click and then right click back onto your sheep. So what they'll do after they've finished chopping it, they'll all just come straight to food automatically without you having to worry about them going on to the next straggler tree. So that'll give you a bit of peace of mind. This vill, after he builds the pit mine, is literally just going to continuously build houses until you have no wood left. So that gives you a total of 6 houses around the pit mine, which is going to be enough gold to get you up to the next stage, or more than enough gold, basically. Once this guy finishes building the houses, you bring him back to wood, start chopping a straggler tree, and then you're going to aim to have a total of 11 villages on food. And then once you've done that, you want to bring out the new villages back across to the straggler trees, and we're going to bank 50 wood so that we can build a lumber camp and start gathering on the main tree line here. So scout bringing back sheep just in time. Don't forget to bring them back, otherwise this will be completely thrown off. So our objective here is to be getting a TC at 515. In this particular variation, there was a few like minor hiccups, so we didn't quite get the 515 timing. But in the next demonstration I'm going to be showing you, we do actually hit that 515 timing. So once you have the food ready, you'll also have the gold from the passive gold. And then you want to build you want to age up with the Manta quarry. And as soon as this is built, so you want to build this with 5 villages. And as soon as this is built, you want to switch it across the stone. Don't forget that, otherwise the timings will be off here. As you can see, we hit the 50 wood and we're building a lumber camp out here. And once you start aging as well, you want to take villagers off food so that you have a total of 4 on food. That'll be enough for constant villager production. And then you want to send all your new vills across to wood here. And once these guys have built the Manta quarry here, they're going to come across and start gathering stone as well. So we're going to have a total of 7 on wood and 4 on food. And then we're going to rally 1 vill or 2 vills across the stone here. In this demonstration, I did 1 vill across the stone, but I found that you get a slightly faster TC timing if you put that extra vill across here. So we're going to send the next 2 across the stone, and then the age up vills are going to join them. And once you've kind of done that, you want to start rallying across to wood again. And our objective with our TC, unlike a lot of civs where you see them putting it across onto deer patches, what we're going to be doing with our next TCs, we're actually going to put it next to our gold mine. This is going to protect all of our housing and our pit mine from being destroyed while we're going for a greedy opener. So like a unique feature that the Malians have available to them is they can make cows. So if you are in dire need of food and you're being pressured heavily in this build, you can just make cows for that extra food rather than relying on the deers. But I'll cover that in the next video more extensively. This is a pure greed build. So you would do this build in a game where you're scouting your opponent and they're, for example, China 2TC song or Abbasid 3TC or something like that. This is the variation where you could get away with it. But other than that, we're going to cover another variation of this where you're making units as well as cow booming and TC booming. So like in this example, we leave the Manticore on stone after we drop our TC. But generally speaking, I go to gold in almost, or pretty much most situations. That'll, one, allow you to cow boom more efficiently. But in this example, we ended up dropping in a three TCs with the extra stone we get here. But I'll cover that more in detail in the next explainer video. So I've taken some of the vills off stone and put them on food, so we can afford 2 TCs of food production. But the rest are coming to wood here, because in this example, we're going to be building another pit mine, and we're going to be filling that up with houses as well. You're going to need quite a lot of wood for mills as well, and also the, I forget what they're called, the cattle ranches. So we're building a mill on the berries here. If you wanted to, you could, it's pretty, like, it's not that common you'll be getting berries early on. Another option is you can just put the mill anywhere near your base for the cattle production here. So once you've built the second town center, you're going to put a few more guys, or at least rally the TC to gold. I would actually put a few vills here, a little bit of a hiccup here, but I would put a few of the vills on gold straight away so that you can afford more cows, especially considering I didn't take this off stone. If I put this straight back on gold, it would be more affordable to do cattle boom. But in this particular variation, I'm going to be showing you a cattle boom from 2 mills. So we're going to build another mill pretty shortly here. So we're using a lot of wood here to build more houses around this pit mine, as well as build all the cattle ranches, the mills, and then we're going to start pumping cows as much as possible into these cattle ranches. For those of you not aware, each cow that exists within this cattle ranch will generate 28 food per minute. There's also an age up option which gives you an extra 20 food per cattle. So the cattle boom gets quite strong here. Another small mistake that I made here in this replay is I didn't build a mining camp. I should have built a mining camp straight away for whatever reason. I missed that. I do add that in a little bit later. But that inefficiency is definitely not worth it. You definitely want to be putting a mining camp here, especially considering how many villages on here. So the general macro, like with this full rebuild, and I would only be doing this if my scout was on his side. I see that he has no military buildings, and you can just boom your heart out. The general macro for it should be a little bit less on food than I've got here, so aim for around like a total of like 9 vills on food to afford 2 TC vill production here. And then the rest should be on wood and gold, so that you can keep building the cattle ranches, the houses, the pit mines, all of that. So there should be about a 50-50 split between wood and gold here. Initially, in the initial stages, I should say, you definitely want more on wood. Just so you can afford all of those things I just mentioned. And around like the 9.5 minute mark, we'll have full cattle ranches. We will have a third TC as well. And yeah, basically we'll have an absolute nuts economy with the passive income, 90 from this one. We have 87. I don't know if that's accurate, but seems a bit strange. Anyway, And then we'll fill up the cattle here. So as you can see, our stone is also creeping up to the 300 mark. And right about when we get to that 300 mark, we're just going to be adding in that third DC. I didn't think about the placement here, I just put it here. But that's the general idea. Now, after you've finished with the cattle boom here, you want to keep all these guys on gold, assuming that you're wanting to age up straight after this. Now the age up gives you access to the improved cattle gather rate. I didn't actually show it in this. Let's see if we can look at it here. I'll put up some images here of the description of the age ups. But basically from here, if you see that your opponent is like full booming and going straight to castle, and a good way to tell that if they're going to castle is if they've got a lot of guys on gold, or you just see them building the landmark in general. I recommend always going with the improved cattle. But the other option works similarly to the Burgrave, and that allows you to produce a bunch of units with just excess gold you have. And if you are going up with that, you can literally have like no vills on food or close to no vills on food and afford like villager production and unit production as well. But generally speaking, I like to go with the cattle landmark. But the Burgrave option, I can't remember it off the top of my head. I will have it up here though. That will help you deal with any pressure. So if you see your opponent's gone like 3 TC boom or 2 TC boom or whatever, and is making units and coming at you, then that's going to be a great age up option. It's more like an emergency thing, or if you want to, if they're really slow with their boom and it doesn't look like they're going up or making units, you can put that landmark down to, you know, apply a strong push, a stronger push. But that's kind of the general gist of the build. Honestly, you can get this cow boom done a bit quicker if you don't go for that third TC. This is just like the extreme greed variation. So take it with a grain of salt. You can like slightly alter the variation based on what you prefer, based on the matchup or whatever it may be. But yeah, this approach to this build is not going to be viable if you have knights in your base or if you have archers. I just want to preface that, but it is going to be like the best, probably the best boom in the game, excluding like trade boom, just because you've got the passive food income from the cows, you got 2 to 3 TCs, and you got the passive gold income. So now we're just going to jump into the next variation, which is where we're going to be focusing more on the defensive aspect, where your opponent is pushing you in. Alright, so this variation is going to be the exact same opener, so I'm going to speed through this a little bit. But we're going to talk about what we do once we hit feudal, which is slightly different. So we're starting with the stragglers once again. We're building the pit mine with all the houses around, adding guys to food. And I can show you the 5:15 timing that we get with this. I do, like I mentioned, add 1 extra vill onto stone here. Bringing back sheep so we don't run out. Another trick as well that I should mention is when you have sheep around your base, you want to make sure you're hitting them so that they're all dead. And the reason for this is if you run out of the 1 sheep that all your vills are gathering, they all do a big swing and kill the next one, which basically is just like -10, -20 food, because that animation takes quite a lot of time. So make sure you're killing all the sheep carcasses here so that you're not wasting precious villager time. So just speeding through here. Like I mentioned before, this variation is going to be focusing on actually making military. So if you are up against the French, this isn't the exact build order for it, because if you're up against French, you're going to need to make some spearmen or dojos, I think they're called. Sorry, I'm still getting familiar with all the names here. I think the dojo warriors, which are like the spearmen for the Malians. So in that case, you would probably want to delay putting guys on stone, have a few more on food so that you can actually afford those units. But I would still go with the total of 7 or 8 on wood, and add a barracks in that situation. But this one's going to be focused on any other civ basically. So even if longbows are coming into your base, you should be able to get your TC in time before like the longbows actually hit you. Or if they do come, you can literally just build it right here within the TC range fire or wherever is safer, based on where you're getting attacked. Otherwise you could, and this will be another build that I cover in a future video, there's also, you can make warrior scouts to defend like the initial longbows or delay them significantly. But nonetheless, this opener is going to be the same. We are going to go for the 2TC here straight away. And with a 515 timing, it's pretty rare that you're going to be denied this TC. And you just need to alter your build slightly. So we've gone for 7 vills on stone this time. The 8 is coming from the Manticore. It basically says an extra vill is on that resource. And as you can see, approaching the 5:15 minute here, we get the foundation for our TC. There you go, 5:14, even better. And we're swapping this back to gold straight away here. And we're putting it on our gold mine to avoid like any like horsemen or spears or whatever it may be that is sieging this down. Now we're going for an archery range. Again, if you're up against knights or horsemen or something like that, don't go for the archery range, go for spears or dojos instead. Honestly, I didn't even need to pull this many guys on gold. You can afford to put like 1 or 2 on gold instead. And then you want to have roughly 10 vills on wood, and then the rest on food. So if I was to replay this and I'd do it slightly different, I'd put a total of 3 on gold here, or 2, and then start making archers or javelin throwers. If they're going archers, you want to go... I'll quickly discuss what units you want to be going here. So the javelin throwers are really good against archers. They're decent against age 2 men-at-arms as well, because they have a high base damage of around 7. If they're going spears, you want to go for archers. And if they're going horsemen, you obviously want to go for the dojo warriors, which are the spearmen equivalent. In this particular situation, for no reason, I just went archers just to give you a demonstration. I'm pretending that he sent a couple of spears over, and you're pushing them back with a few archers. If they're coming with archers, you want to make javelin riders. Not javelin riders, javelin throwers, as they have high range armor as well, so they're really good against archers. The only thing that really counters them in feudal is horsemen, but they also aren't as good against spearmen as what archers are, just because archers get a bonus against the light melee infantry. So these guys will get a total of 10 damage onto the spearmen, and these guys will get 8. These guys do have a slightly longer range as well. These guys have 5-tile range. These guys have 6-tile range. So yeah. So macro wise, again, I ended up pulling guys off gold because I had too many on. And I've also made some cows. So I built a mill right here and not over here. I'm pretending as if we're under a lot of pressure right now. And I built cows to eat. So these guys hold 500 food each. So we don't have to go out on the map and be exposed. As you can see, our base is very condensed and it's hard to get any sort of damage done without like a ram or 2 coming in at you. So if your opponent does decide to go rams at this stage, it's actually pretty good for you. It means you are going to be able to like catch up in unit count, and you can usually push them away. So I built my base nice and compact so that if rams do want to kill my production, they have to come under the TC to do so, and the TC will just get free fire on them. This also means like the benefit of having this TC here is that like if you're shooting from here and you pull back, they can't dive you unless they want to take TC fire from this guy as well. So you're just dropping as many production build. I usually like, if I'm defending pressure, I like to have like 4 production buildings here. And that's just going to depend completely what their unit comp is. If they're like fully archers, I'd just go 1 barracks, or like archer spear, I'd go 1 barracks and the rest archery ranges. The barracks just in case they add horsemen in. But if they're going like horseman archer, then I would go 2 archers and 2 barracks. We're also going with a blacksmith here. We're still eating the cows here, and then we have like a roughly 50-50 split on food and wood. And once you start getting low on the gold side, as you're producing cows, you wanna start adding more guys onto gold. So I would, if I'm looking at this, I would want to start rallying to gold right now. I know I do it pretty shortly after. And we're looking at getting our cowboom started now. Now, if you are like not convincingly winning fights or anything like that, if you don't have the right mass to kill him at this stage, or at least like push him back and hold him off, then you can hold off on the cowboom, get your blacksmith upgrades in as soon as possible. So I've made 3 cows here, or at least I believe I made 1 here. Yeah, there's 1 here. You could put a halt on that, and you could instead go for archer attack, archer defense, assuming you're up against a big ball of archers. If you're up against horsemen, you can go melee defense and archer attack. So choose the blacksmith tech that best suits what units are being thrown at you at that particular time. But otherwise, you can start adding in cows now if you feel like you're safe to do so. One thing as well you may notice is we're not building another pit mine, and that's based on the assumption that we can't because they have units out and they can either deny it or just kill it straight away. So we're just taking our time with this. So the main difference here is obviously we're not going straight for the boom, we're adding in a bunch of production, making units, have still roughly a 50-50 split here on food and wood, and now we've started rallying guys to gold. I've actually got both of them on gold because we need to catch up a little bit on the gold count. I'm struggling to keep the constant cow production, but again, if you're under immense amount of pressure and you don't feel safe to adding cows right now, you don't even necessarily need guys on gold, assuming that these houses haven't been sieged. And in that way, you're able to afford like javelin throwers and some blacksmith techs as well. Also, if you need the food because it's getting a bit dicey, if you don't have the gold, come out to berries, and if it's safe enough to do so. Otherwise, just keep making a few cows here and there to afford more villager production and unit production. But I've made the assumption in this demonstration that I'm safe to do so. I come out and start building another pit mine with houses all around it. Otherwise, just do this, build houses around your base. It's not the end of the world. There's no limit to houses as well, so once you're safe to do so, you can go out and just keep building houses around pit mines. Another thing as well, I'd be more inclined to build these houses around the pit mines if it was like back here or back in this corner as well. So that's kind of like the overview of like defending early pressure whilst cow booming and 2TC. So you just need to gauge on how much pressure you're under and just understand that was not intentional, and just make military or delay the cows slightly and go for blacksmith techs. Those are the kind of the things that you need to consider when coming up against your opponents. Oh, another thing as well, if they're making men-at-arms, a really good unit, or the best unit they have available to kind of frontline against men-at-arms is the... Chat, help me out. What are they called? The Mustafadi warriors, that's right. They are anti-armor specialists. They kind of look like a speedy men-at-arm, but they're really good against armored units. One thing to keep in mind though is archers are really good against them because they're not armored themselves. So yeah, just be careful with that. Generally in Age 2, as long as they don't have an overwhelming number of men-at-arms, then your javelin throwers are going to do a decent job against them. But that's the cowboom build order, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out, guys.